Crypto products are unregulated and could be highly volatile. Please be aware of the risks before investing.
राज, बाबूजी के आशीर्वाद से हमने अपनी नई शुरुआत तो कर ली, पर अपना फ्यूचर प्लान कैसे करें?
बड़े-बड़े शहरों में ऐसी छोटी-छोटी बातें होती रहती हैं।
Looking for perfect start? Get a Bitcoin today. Download the Unocoin app.
जब मैं तेरी उम्र का था ना, तो एक सक्सेसफुल करियर, लॉन्ग टर्म प्लानिंग सब रेडी करके रख चुका था। और एक इन महाराज को देखो, पूरा दिन फोन में लगा रहेगा।
दैट प्लानिंग तो मैंने भी कर रखी है, Unocoin के साथ।
नए जमाने के साथ नई चीजें आजमाएं। Looking for Bitcoin? Download the Unocoin app.
Guys, we really need to work hard. This wasn't a good quarter. Tell me, are you happy with this?
Unocoin.
Want to earn Bitcoin? Just grab your phone and shake it. Download the Unocoin app.
Bitcoin, 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 Bitcoin.
Get a systematic buying plan from the Unocoin app to get your Bitcoin today. Download the Unocoin app.
Okay, and here we are live once again, guys. Welcome back to Unocoin's AMA Live. Here we talk about multiple aspects related to Web3 to crypto. और आज Web3 के बारे में एक बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग चीज हम जो बात करने वाले हैं, जिसके बारे में हमेशा बात होती रहती है, दैट इज Web3 एंड द फ्यूचर ऑफ द इंटरनेट. अब इस डिस्कशन के लिए हमारे साथ आज के हमारे खास गेस्ट जुड़ चुके हैं, मिस्टर परीन. Pareen has a lot of expertise in the field of Web3 tech part and the future of the internet thing. So I introduce Pareen for this great session to the audience. Hi Pareen, how are you
I'm
doing
good.
today?
Thank you for having me here. And thank
No,
you for
we're
doing
glad
this.
to
A
have
lot
you.
of education initiatives that are so needed for the users today.
Indeed, agreed 100%. And when it comes to the new technology, Pareen, I absolutely feel like the more we teach, the better it is for the masses to understand that.
Definitely.
So, Pareen, before starting off right away with the topic, I really want to know, where did you get into this space and how did you start your journey with Web3, crypto, and things?
Mostly very similar to what people experience every cycle. I got into crypto way back when it was called crypto, not Web3 in 2017. And it was because some friends said, "Hey, this is something new. Why don't you try and invest?" Right? Everyone gets into this from an investing perspective. No one comes here on day one and says the technology is great. Let me understand it, because it's very fairly complicated and it takes some time to understand this technology. But while I was trading, I started reading a bunch of new white papers. I started interacting with people in the industry and realized that this technology, the underlying technology behind the asset, is actually where the magic happens. It is not the trading side of things, which is amazing, but when you get deep and understand the implications, it feels like we would be in internet era in 2001 right now, right? And that is a great time to be. And if you were that early to internet, uh, that's where all the action had really happened.
I think 100% I agree. When we talk about the computer part, when computer came to India and when internet came to India, people were a lot scared that okay, this thing is going to take away jobs and everything. But in return, it actually created a lot of opportunities, especially in India. If we see now, I think Bangalore is called the Silicon Valley of India for a reason when it comes to that.
Yeah.
So absolutely new opportunities comes with this. And talking about the internet, like you mentioned, Pareen, जब हम इन दोनों चीज़ों की बात करते हैं तो ऑब्वियसली हम लोग जो अभी का करंट इंटरनेट है हम उसको वेब टू की कैटेगरी में देखते हैं एंड
Hmm.
जो क्रिप्टो होल ब्लॉकचेन थिंग दैट कम्स इन वेब 3. So how do we see the difference? Like, what is the difference here?
Right. So, see, very clearly, we most people today haven't seen Web 1, right? Or at least not been exposed to in a big way. So basically, it starts with the fact where you are still owning your data. So, जब, let's say 90s internet में hardly anything was on internet. Mostly everything was on your local server or some server, maybe in a shared server space or in a server space somewhere uh, at some garage, right? There was no cloud, there was no AWS. So everyone owned everyone's data. Uh, when you own your data, there are advantages and disadvantages to it. One advantage is that no one can shut it down, no one can really control or censor your data. It's there on the internet, it's on your server, and you own that data, so no one can delete it without telling you or harvest it for ads or anything like that. Web 2 basically went on cloud mostly. Right? Largely, last 10 years, we've been operating on cloud, which basically means that most of the data sits on some other server. Like right now, if we are recording this, this data is going to sit on some third party server that we mostly don't have any control over. Same with our finance data, same with our health data, same with literally everything that controls our life today. Do we want that? No. But how do we make sure that, let's say, my device or your device can still access that data while we retain the control of that data? That is what blockchain enabled. So after Bitcoin, when Ethereum was invented, there is something called smart contracts that came into existence, which basically means you can write software that sits on the blockchain and executes from the blockchain. So what this enables us to do is that this perpetual juggernaut of a blockchain that's running, which cannot be stopped, this becomes a single source of truth, right? And that's where the data resides, and it's cryptographically secured. So essentially, if I am the owner of X data, I should be able to access it with my wallet ID, right? And once my wallet ID is authenticated, I get access because only this wallet has access to that data. There are smart contracts where people are writing NFTs, where people are writing DeFi logic. People are building different games on top of smart contracts, primarily to make sure that there is some logic, programming logic that goes on chain. And then you come together, all of this comes together into hopefully a nice app where the user doesn't have to see the blockchain part. We are yet to get to that level, but the user doesn't have to see the blockchain part, because today when we open Zomato, we don't worry about how to connect to the internet and how to authenticate. just a Google login or an Apple login, and it just works. So we are yet to reach that level where it just works and literally millions of people can use it. But we are in this middle stage where the technology has promise, we know it, and it's been accepted industry wide. Now we have to materialize that promise and get to a level where users can actually use this technology. So that's how we look at generally uh, both the sides of internet. I think it will be a merger. It is not like Web3 is some kind of successor of Web2, right? We will use enough of cloud. We will use enough of every possible Web2 protocol out there. But blockchain can govern centralized data that's too sensitive to be centralized in whatever industry that it's needed to be. So, yeah.
Yes, I think that's a major point. Ki Web3 won't be a successor, but rather something that will be used alongside Web2. आई थिंक मोस्ट पीपल इन टुडेज डे एंड टाइम वो इसी तरीके से इस पूरी टेक्नोलॉजी पे देख रहे हैं कि कैसे दोनों का फायदा एक साथ उठाया जा सके और आई थिंक ब्यूटी भी इसी बात में है कि वेब 3 और वेब 2 को साथ में कैसे यूज किया जा सके तो
100%.
अगर परीन हम लोग बात करेंगे वेब 3 की फाइनेंस पे जो इम्पैक्ट है अभी भी हम लोग हाल में देख रहे हैं कि काफी मेजर इम्पैक्ट डाल रही है आते आते ईयर्स में और ज्यादा होगा So in terms of future, if we talk about, what do you think will be the impact of Web3 on the current financial scenario?
I think this time, after the whole crash last year and everything that we saw, Luna, FTX, I think the biggest hope for this industry right now is DeFi, decentralized finance. मतलब आप सोचिए हमने last question में बात की that there are smart contracts, right? Where these contracts execute on its own based on certain conditions, and users can own their own funds because essentially users are providing this authority every time they are transacting through their wallet. So हमारे अभी करंट ट्रेडिशनल फाइनेंस सिस्टम में क्या होता है कि हमारे पैसे की कस्टडी ले लेता है कोई. So if we buy a financial product, it could be a bank product, it could be mutual fund, it could be literally insurance, anything. Essentially, our custody is gone, and then there is a whole black box. अंदर क्या हो रहा है हमें नहीं पता. हमारे पैसे हमने बैंक में डिपॉजिट किए. बैंक is supposed to lend it out to businesses large scale पर at higher interest rate और जो margin होता है that is their profit. That's how it's supposed to work. But अंदर क्या हो रहा है किसी को कोई आइडिया नहीं. So now what has happened is DeFi lending, P2P lending platforms like Aave hai, Compound hai. These have been actually the front runners in making sure that we have something that just works because it's a smart contract. तो आज हमने जो बैंक का transaction determine किया कि you take money from the lender, you lend it to someone else, and there is a small fee in between that the bank should keep. उसके बदले ये smart contract called Aave can do that. And once you do that, middleman की कोई जरूरत ही नहीं है इसके अंदर. I can say that I want to deposit money and I want to get, let's say, 6% returns. You can come and you can say कि हाँ मुझे चाहिए ये. I'm ready to pay 6%. It's completely peer-to-peer. Middleman हट गया. And we are both seeing every transaction on blockchain, Ethereum or any other blockchain. And then that basically means that we have complete transparency. So ownership का problem solve हो गया इससे और we have solved the problem of transparency कि पता है कि I may not know your name exactly, but I know कि इस wallet address ने ये पैसे की इतनी loan ली है from me and I am going to get this much return क्योंकि ये smart contract में है आपको collateral डालना पड़ेगा so you know कि हाँ ये collateral जाएगा अगर मैंने loan वापस नहीं की तो स्मार्ट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है सिंपल जो भी फाइनेंस में प्रोडक्ट्स है दैट आर वेरी not very complex, like maybe insurance and all requires a lot more complexity than P2P lending. P2P lending is a very easy use case, or I think blockchain enables that trustlessly for now.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think there are so many ways Web3 is transforming the upcoming scenario. I mean, recently I had this conversation with Pranav, also Pranav Maheshwari, And
Yeah.
of course, the way he was also describing things and the way you are describing things, it's actually very magical to see how technology can be, so transforming. And I think it's not been it's been what, 10 years, 12 years since internet came in the picture. Yeah, and we can see the
In India, yes. Yeah, yeah.
so for the Web3, if we talk about the same, then I think it's going to be way beyond than what we can imagine right now. So one quick note to the audience, guys, Pareen is here and he's here to answer all your questions. Do not hesitate in dropping any queries that you have. आप अपनी questions को हिंदी या English किसी भी language में पूछ सकते हैं, and I'll convey them to Pareen for you. So, Pareen, when we talk about the future, of course, and the traditional system as we see, so when banking came initially, it was a lot of problem for the general public to adapt with it. तो लोग अपना postal offices में account खुलवाया करते थे और ऐसे धीरे धीरे चीजों को लेकर के adapt किया. आपको क्या लगता है, मतलब जो हमारे ये पूरा सिस्टम है वेब 3 का व्हेन इट कम्स टू फाइनेंस, तो इसके अडॉप्शन में किस तरीके के प्रॉब्लम्स इंडियन स्पेसिफिक ऑडियंस फेस कर रहे हैं, इन फ्यूचर फेस करेंगे?
सी अभी तो आई थिंक टेक्नोलॉजी उस स्टेज पे है कि हमें पहले 1990s में इंटरनेट कनेक्ट करने के लिए MTNL लाइन बंद हो जाती थी और फिर उसको और 2 मिनट तक वो आवाज करता था राउटर और फिर इंटरनेट कनेक्ट होता था और हार्डली उसमें कुछ स्पीड आती थी. हम वो स्टेज पे है अभी. अभी के लिए ब्लॉकचेन्स इतने स्केलेबल भी नहीं है कि हम उसके ऊपर लेट्स से 10 लाख लोग को डाल दें. उतना ट्रांजैक्शन जाएंगे ही नहीं एक साथ में, 1 घंटे में, 1 मिनट में, जितने लेट्स से यूपीआई करता है आज. तो वो टेक्नोलॉजी रेडी नहीं है उस लेवल पर. बट जो प्रॉमिस है वो ये है कि जिस दिन टेक्नोलॉजी रेडी हो गई स्केलेबिलिटी वाइज, उस दिन सारे के सारे लोग अपनी कस्टडी के साथ ट्रांजैक्शन कर सकते हैं ट्रस्टलेसली. पर्टिकुलरली इंडिया पर्सपेक्टिव से आई थिंक अभी के लिए जो यूजर एक्सपीरियंस है वॉलेट्स का, साइन अप करने का, वो सारी चीज़ें तैयार नहीं है. तो अभी हम देख रहे हैं कि काफ़ी सारे एप्लीकेशन है जहाँ पे आपके पहले जाके मेटामास्क वॉलेट बनाना पड़ता है, उसके बाद उसमें गैस फी के लिए टोकन डालने पड़ते हैं आपके चेन के, उसके बाद आप जाके एक पर्टिकुलर ट्रांजैक्शन कर सकते हो, चाहे वो स्वैप हो या लेंडिंग हो, बोरोइंग हो, कोई भी एक पर्टिकुलर फाइनेंशियल प्रोडक्ट है या NFT खरीदना है या कुछ और करना है, एक्सेस पास लेना है लेट्स से मेटावर्स का. अगर कोई भी सारी चीज करनी है तो फ्रिक्शन जो है वो बहुत ज्यादा है. और हमें आदत है बहुत स्मूथ एप्स यूज करने की. तो आई थिंक वो मे बी साल 2 साल में देयर इज वन कॉन्सेप्ट कॉल्ड अकाउंट एब्स्ट्रैक्शन, जहाँ पे क्या करते हैं कि ये पूरा यूजर एक्सपीरियंस जो है मेटामास्क बनाने का और साइन इन करने का और सारा वो सब बैकएंड में एब्स्ट्रैक्ट कर लेते हैं उसको, ताकि यूजर को एक स्मूथ परफॉर्मेंस मिले एज गुड एज लेट्स से आप गूगल से लॉग इन कर रहे हो, उतना स्मूथ एक्सपीरियंस मिलना चाहिए. तो ये आई थिंक एटलीस्ट 2 साल है हमारे पास इसको देखने के लिए बिफोर वी कैन गो आउट एंड हम अपने कॉमन नॉन टेक दोस्तों से बोले और घर वालों से बोले कि अरे आप ये ऐप डाउनलोड करो, ये गेम ब्लॉकचेन पे बनी है और ये गेम आप खेल सकते हो. तो ये आई थिंक एटलीस्ट 2 साल है अभी हमारे पास इसको देखने के लिए. बट काफ़ी इनिशिएटिव्स है अब्रॉड, इंडिया में, ग्लोबली, जो लोग इसको सिंप्लीफाई करने की ट्राई कर रहे हैं. तो वेरी पॉजिटिव इन दैट सेंस.
बिल्कुल. और साथ ही साथ जो रेगुलेटरी सिनेरियो की अगर हम बात करें, तो करंट जो सेंटिमेंट्स उसकी तरफ भी हैं, वो भी कहीं ना कहीं एक हर्डल है. सो टॉकिंग अबाउट द सेम, Pareen, when we talk about the regulatory scenarios around Web3, how far do you think is Web3 controllable by the governments? Because we all know that it is all blockchain, all decentralized, and we own our own things. How far do you think can it be controlled by the government?
As much as internet or as much as banking transaction, frankly speaking, ये मतलब last cycle, I think even 2017 में people were saying कि अरे ये तो anonymous है, तो सब इससे आप trace नहीं कर सकते और ये वो सब. That's not true. People now know and it's accepted that it's actually more traceable than everything else.
Yes.
Right? तो वो blocker नहीं है. सेकेंड चीज ये है कि अगर ये इतना ट्रेसेबल है तो बेटर है. आप इसको टैक्स, बेसिकली टैक्स ही एक मेजर इशू है, राइट? तो टैक्स के इसमें लॉ में ले आओ एंड देन इट वर्क्स. आई थिंक ये पहले भी हम लोग काफी डिस्कस करते थे कि जनरली स्पीकिंग वेब 3 इज अबाउट टेक्नोलॉजी। इसमें ट्रेडिंग नहीं है। हाँ, आपको कभी शायद कोई टोकन चाहिए हो क्योंकि आपको कोई ट्रांजैक्शन करना है छोटा मोटा, दैट्स ओके, बट जनरली इट इज अबाउट टेक्नोलॉजी। और व्हेन इट कम्स टू टेक्नोलॉजी, तो देयर इज नो रिस्ट्रिक्शन इन कोडिंग, राइट? आज के दिन में जो सबसे बड़ी अपॉर्चुनिटी दिख रही है इंडिया के लिए, वो ये है कि वी हैव मिलियंस ऑफ इंजीनियर्स, और ये इंडस्ट्री है जिसमें इंजीनियर्स आर हाईएस्ट पेड पीपल। पीपल हु आर कोडिंग आर इन हाईएस्ट ऑफ डिमांड। तो आपको कोड करने के लिए तो कोई मना नहीं कर रहा ना, ये तो नहीं बोला है कि उसमें प्रॉब्लम है। तो इतनी बड़ी तो अपॉर्चुनिटी पेयर मिनिमम है हमारे लिए। उसके अलावा हम स्टार्टअप्स को ऐड करो, उसमें जॉब्स को ऐड करो, ट्रेडिंग को ऐड करो, डिफरेंट, एब्सोल्युटली डिफरेंट चीजें हैं इसके अंदर जहाँ से इंडिया को बेनिफिट हो सकता है। बट आई थिंक द स्टार्ट हियर इज मोस्टली जॉब्स, एंड वो तो आ रहे हैं इन एनी केस, और उसमें कोई रेगुलेटरी प्रॉब्लम नहीं है।
बिल्कुल। टेक को लेकर के तो रेगुलेटरी प्रॉब्लम होनी भी नहीं चाहिए। खैर, मैंने हाल में भी सुना था कि आई थिंक फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर और सम मिनिस्टर who's in the parliament right now said that we are actually looking at promoting the use of blockchain and other things, but for crypto they're keeping it a little, a bit under, I would say, observation for now. But I feel like the potential is technology ka that lies way beyond finance. Won't you agree, Pareen? So if we talk about,
डेफिनेटली।
yeah, if we talk about those sectors, what would they be?
So I think, see, one of the things is जैसे finance has been converted by DeFi है, ऑन चेन लाया जा रहा है उससे सारे फंड्स। इसी तरह से आई थिंक NFTs आर गोइंग टू ब्रिंग अबाउट द नेक्स्ट सोशल नेटवर्क्स। तो जैसे आज हमने 20 साल से हमारे पास माई स्पेस से लेके और कुछ से लेके फेसबुक, इंस्टाग्राम, व्हाट्सएप, सारी चीजें हो गई। वी डोंट रियलाइज कि इसमें भी हमारा डेटा उनके सर्वर पे स्टोर्ड है, और वो उसको हार्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं ऐड के लिए। हम अगर डिलीट करना भी चाहे तो वी कांट बी 100% श्योर कि ये लोग डिलीट कर रहे हैं, राइट? एंड एवरीवन इज लॉगिंग ऑन टू दैट। तो ये सारा डेटा भी सेल्फ सॉवरेन होना चाहिए। दिस शुड बी ओन्ड बाय द यूजर। और वो है एक बहुत बड़ा यूज केस कि नेक्स्ट जनरेशन सोशल नेटवर्क्स जो है उस पे हमें सबको अपना डेटा कन्वर्ट कंट्रोल करना है। हमें नहीं चाहिए कि इसको कोई भी एडवर्टाइजर हमें अपनी ऐड दिखाने के लिए यूज करे, और अगर चाहिए भी तो इन अ लिमिटेड सेंस कंट्रोल होना चाहिए यूजर का उसके ऊपर। तो ब्लॉकचेन का एक बड़ा चीज है कि ये कंट्रोल देता है यूजर को, क्योंकि सब कुछ हमारा वॉलेट से ऑथेंटिकेट हो रहा है। अब ये चीज जो है वन ऑफ द फंडामेंटल थिंग्स है जो अभी तक लोगों को समझ में नहीं आ रही, बट सोशल नेटवर्क्स आर अप फॉर डिसरप्शन बाय ब्लॉकचेन। वो NFTs और दूसरे टाइप के जो टोकन्स अब आ रहे हैं उनसे होगा। थर्ड चीज जो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है वो है गेमिंग। तो अब के लिए गेम्स अगर आप देखोगे तो बड़े से बड़ी गेम्स है, उसमें सारा का सारा डेटा आपका यूजर का स्टिल वहाँ उनके सर्वर पे स्टोर होता है। और आज वो आई थिंक कोई हिसाब नहीं है, आई थिंक 10 बिलियन के ऊपर की इंडस्ट्री है जहाँ लोग अपना एवेटार, स्किन, ये वो सारी चीजें खरीद रहे हैं। बट वो सारी यूजर ओन्ड होनी चाहिए। अब वो एक बहुत बड़ा रेवोल्यूशन है। उसके अलावा मेटावर्सेस में ओपन मेटावर्सेस जो है वो ब्लॉकचेन पे बन रहे हैं। क्लोज मेटावर्सेस है जैसे मेटा है और काफी सारे हैं। वैसे ओपन मेटावर्सेस है जिसपे आप लैंड खरीद सकते हो, कोई भी खरीद सकता है और कोई भी जाके कुछ भी बना सकता है। तो ये ओपन मेटावर्सेस ब्लॉकचेन पर बन सकते हैं और कहीं नहीं बन सकते हैं। तो काफी सारे यूज केसेस है जो अभी बहुत रॉ है। इसको अभी तक इतना बेक नहीं किया गया है कि हम मिलियन यूजर्स को उसके ऊपर डाल दें। बट आई थिंक इन नेक्स्ट 2 years काफी सारे ऐसे यूज केसेस आ जाएंगे कि कोई ना कोई एक ब्लॉकचेन ऐप होगा जो वाइडली यूज होगा और लोग जानेंगे एटलीस्ट उसको।
I think if we talk about वो wild use, वो I think एक बार हुआ था 2020 में, when we were seeing कि हाँ हर कोई बात कर रहा है क्रिप्टो के बारे में, ब्लॉकचेन के बारे में, but yes, that was a smaller picture, I would say, or aisa bahut. And I also feel like with the generational change, this thing will come in more into the mainstream, because if you look at our parents' generation, we talk about Web3, even internet at times. If we would go and explain it to them more than WhatsApp, they would not know much about it, right? So I think that is also another thing that comes with the generation itself. And when we talk about these things, Pareen, then nothing comes without any cons. We see the pros of Web3, we see the pros of crypto and everything's associated that is in Web3, but there are also certain cons. So if we have to list some major cons, what would they be?
I think one of the major cons here is self-custody ka uh, disadvantage is that you are your own bank. Uh, People say if you have your own wallet address, someone steals your seed phrase private key, it's gone.
It's gone.
देयर इज नो रिकॉर्स मतलब आप जाके उसको ट्रेस करा सकते हो बट इट डजंट मीन दैट यू विल ऑटोमेटिकली गेट मनी बैक वेयर जब बैंक कस्टडी लेती है या कोई भी फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन है वो रेगुलेटेड है वो जब कस्टडी लेता है तो देयर आर सेफ्टी चेक्स इन प्लेस देयर आर robust tried and tested formats risk management in place तो दिस इज द बिगेस्ट थिंग कि अगर आज कोई स्कैमर मेरा पैसा यूपीआई से ले जाता है तो आई वुड मोस्टली कॉल अप मे बी फाइल अ कंप्लेंट इन्वेस्टिगेशन होगी वो रिवर्स कर देंगे ट्रांजैक्शन को ब्लॉकचेन के ट्रांजैक्शन रिवर्स नहीं होते एक बार अगर वॉलेट्स टोल मेरा पासवर्ड अगर एटीएम का चोरी हो गया कार्ड चोरी हो गया आई कैन चेंज द पासवर्ड आई कैन रिपोर्ट दे विल ब्लॉक इट बट यहाँ पर अगर आपने एक बार सीड फ्रेज आपका कॉम्प्रोमाइज हो गया तो यू कैन डू एनीथिंग अबाउट इट ये सबसे बड़ा डिसएडवांटेज है क्योंकि लोग बोलते हैं कि मुझे अपना खुद का बैंक बनना है अगर खुद का बैंक बनना है तो फिर इट इज एज गुड एज हैविंग गोल्ड इन योर लॉकर उसका कुछ नहीं कर सकते अगर आपने कहीं कस्टडी में रखा है तो उसकी किसी न किसी की गारंटी है तो दिस इज अ बैलेंस इट इज नॉट लाइक जनरली सबको सेल्फ कस्टडी जाना चाहिए या सबको अपने फंड्स का कंट्रोल लेना चाहिए ये एक लर्निंग कर्व है वो लर्निंग कर्व है उसकी बेस्ट मेथड्स है प्रैक्टिसेस है हार्डवेयर वॉलेट है काफी सारी चीजें सीखनी पड़ती है तो दैट इज द बिगेस्ट फ्रिक्शन पॉइंट राइट नाउ सेकेंड थिंग इज दैट इट इज वेरी एक्सपेंसिव टू डू अ ब्लॉकचेन ट्रांजैक्शन राइट नाउ एक ट्रांजैक्शन करने के लिए जो गैस फी लगती है इवन L2s पे या जो चेन्स फास्टर ट्रांजैक्शन चीपर फी प्रॉमिस करते हैं उसमें भी जो वो एक जाता है इट इज मे बी people will count it as $0.2 but $0.2 for a transaction or $0.1 for a transaction is a lot it's a lot so उसको कैसे सॉल्व करना है वो भी एक मेजर चैलेंज है टू फिगर आउट हाउ टू गेट दिस लेवल ऑफ स्केलेबिलिटी बट आई थिंक इंडस्ट्री उस तरफ मूव कर रही है धीरे धीरे ये सब चीज़ों के सोल्यूशंस आएंगे it is not going to be very fast it is not going to be very easy also but we have to do this if we want to ever own our data we should definitely figure out a way to make sure at least critical parts जो है हमारे लाइफ के वो blockchain पर चले जाए so that no one can control that for us
Yes, 100%. Oh, do I see a little network issue? Oh, it's fine. Can you see and hear me properly, Pareen?
yeah
Okay, great. So, Pareen, obviously there are issues that we see, with the scalability part. But if we talk about India, given that we are already in a very developing stage right now, and we have been, I think, doing great in the past 10 years, and so is the case for the whole blockchain, Web3, and the
I think we should use what Balaji says we are ascending world right now instead of developing country because the growth is phenomenal
ग्रोथ इज फिनोमिनल 100%. सो अब हमारी इंडस्ट्री भी ग्रो कर रही है और साथ में ये जो एक नया कंसेप्ट है Web3 का, अब वो क्या लगता है हमारा जो इंडियन ग्रोथ जो भी मतलब चल रहा है कि कैसे जो भी चीजें ग्रो हो रही हैं आईटी लेवल पे डिफरेंट सेक्टर वाइज, उसमें Web3 का क्या इम्प्लीमेंटेशन हो सकता है इवन फॉर अ पर्सनल इवन फ्रॉम एन इंडिविजुअल लेवल? Or would you say that okay, this is a new opportunity that we can use to maybe create new monetary benefits for us?
I think biggest benefit for India is still its talent. आई थिंक दैट इज द मेन फोकस हियर कि हमारे पास जो टैलेंट है इसको इस इंडस्ट्री से कैसे अपडेट किया जाए ऑल्सो मेक श्योर दैट दे अंडरस्टैंड दैट दिस इज समथिंग दैट एवरीवन विल हैव टू लर्न समडे people will have to understand what an NFT is someday, right? People will have to understand what P2P lending on chain is someday. So educate as many people as possible with the possible risks because there are a ton of risks. There is no doubt about that. That your wallet can get hacked. There are scammers, spammers on Telegram, Twitter, Instagram, literally every place. WhatsApp right now. There are people who have lost their money in bridges or in centralized exchanges sometimes. There are a ton of risks. It is almost like we are very, very early. So people who get into this industry, ideal way is to make money by salary, right? And then it doesn't matter. You get connected to the industry, you learn all the ropes of the industry. You figure out what are the key things to be remembered to become a Web3, what people call Web3 native, right? इसको Web3 native बुलाते हैं. उतना करने के बाद ही घुसो. My general thing is that, see, I got into this haphazardly, right? There was no structure, nothing. So I think if I would have had been more patient, I would have not lost a ton of money by experimenting and literally blowing money away for no reason. Learning comes first, and then comes some kind of activity, which could be full-time trading, or which could be tech, or engineering jobs, or literally anything. I think I lost your voice. Sorry.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. I think I 100% agree. And the point where you said you lost a lot of money, I think the people who entered at the time of 2017, 2013, maybe 2010, when this was relatively even, you know, more on a growth stage and everything, a lot of people did not understand it and they did lose money. Whereas if we talk about today, when people are getting into this, because there are people, you gave an example of yourself, there are people who keep telling that do your own research, don't lose money like this actually serves as an advantage for the people who are getting to know about it now, क्योंकि उनको खुद ही पता है कि बिना समझे पैसा नहीं डालना है, और जब डालना है तो प्रॉपरली डालना है कि हाँ रिसर्च करके ठीक जगह पे ठीक चीजों में डाला है. तो ये भी एक बहुत बड़ा पावर है इस चीज का कि हाँ, बट you know, we have our people who are telling constantly. And when we talk about this whole thing as knowing, तो कैसे हम बात करेंगे कि आईटी सेक्टर जो है खास करके हमारा, टुडे वी सी किड्स डूइंग कोर्सेज इन ब्लॉकचेन्स. तो जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज के मामले में व्हाट डू यू थिंक हाउ इट इज गोइंग टू बी अ पोटेंशियल बेनिफिट फॉर द अपकमिंग जनरेशंस?
See, I think एक चीज तो क्लियर है कि एक जैसे इंटरनेट वाज अ स्किल बैक इन 90s, लोग टाइपिंग के क्लासेस भी करते थे. दैट वाज आल्सो वन थिंग. इट वाज दैट न्यू. नाउ इट्स आ पार्ट ऑफ आवर लाइफ. वी डोंट टीच एनीवन कि टाइप कैसे करना है, सबको समझ आता है खुद ही. इट्स अ लाइफ स्किल. इट इज नॉट एन ऑप्शनल थिंग एनीमोर. People used to learn Word, Excel, and PowerPoint in some class, sit and be like, oh, सिखाओ PowerPoint कैसे बनाते हैं. Now it's all life skill. I think a lot of Web3 will also be life skill. कि आपको आइडेंटिफाई करना है, आपको कहाँ इन्वेस्ट करना है, आपको कितना रिस्क लेना है, आपको किस तरह के फाइनेंशियल प्रोडक्ट लेने हैं या किस तरह का एनएफटी लेना है, क्या गेम खेल रहे हो आप. हर चीज, एवरीथिंग अराउंड अस इन सम फॉर्म इज एन एसेट, राइट? और वो सारे एसेट टोकनाइज हो जाएंगे धीरे धीरे. तो जब टोकनाइज्ड वर्ल्ड में हम मूव करेंगे, बेस्ट दिस इज गोइंग टू बिकम अ लाइफ स्किल. तो उस हिसाब से तो सीखना है. उसके अलावा सेकेंड थिंग दैट everyone, again, I think I'm repeating this maybe the third time, is the fact कि हमारे पास इतने सारे programmers हैं and there is a ton of demand from people for Web3 programmers. तो क्यों ना बना लिया जाए. Now we should go and take active interest, figure out how to train these folks in Web3 coding, Solidity, or anything like that, and make sure that they get enough jobs in the industry. उसके अलावा, I think two major things are going to benefit us a lot. Uh, like you said, right, in internet को इंडिया में 10 years हो गए adoption हो गए. Imagine if it would have come 10 years earlier. That's the opportunity that we have with blockchain. So definitely should take advantage of this.
I think 100%. And even people, मतलब मेरे को तो ये लगता है जो कोडर्स हैं उनके लिए तो खैर है ही प्लस पॉइंट अपॉर्चुनिटीज, बट जो people who are also like non-techie, non-coders, for them also Web3 creates a lot of opportunities. So if you could, give a quick overview on
So,
how.
oh yeah, see, I'm not a coder technically. Right. So in that sense, when we say coding jobs, high demand, no doubt about that. But I should also mention that there are hardly any marketers in the industry right now. So in that sense, we need a lot more people on the business side, on other functional skills side. There are a ton of people who are still hiring in the industry, whereas everyone else, internet companies, traditional finance, everyone is just laying off. There are still opportunities in this industry. So when I say that we have a lot of talent, definitely I emphasize on engineers because that's one of the most uh, identifiable, very easily, globally scalable kind of talent. But every other aspect is still here, and there is a way for everyone to contribute to the industry in some way or the other.
Yes, 100%. And of course, business models की तो अगर हम बात करें, I think in the past 5 to 6 years, from 2017, we have seen a lot of startups in the Web3, industry, and they're actually quite good with the whole concept that they're bringing up. I've got a chance to interact with a good number of them, and it's actually very amazing to see how these people are just adapting to the technology, creating something new out of it, or creating something of utility out of it. So ये तो बात हुई कि जो अभी कर रहे हैं, तो जो ऑलरेडी एग्जिस्टेंस में है पहले से हम देखेंगे, मतलब इंडिया इज व्हाट mostly we see startups, businesses, startup India is being promoted. So when we talk about these things, and as the youth of this generation is also moving towards the startup India part, जो नई नई चीजें आ रही है, अब उसके फंक्शनैलिटी में वेब 3 को इम्प्लीमेंट करने के बाद क्या प्रोग्रेस या ग्रोथ या क्या बेनिफिट्स हो सकते हैं?
So I think ऐसा नहीं है कि हर ऐप को ब्लॉकचेन की जरूरत है. It is not necessary. It is not a transition. ऐसा नहीं है कि आपको Web3 चाहिए. It was popular बुल मार्केट में, अब नहीं पॉपुलर है तो लोग नहीं यूज कर रहे. But the decision should depend on the fact that there is a clear use case for a blockchain, which mostly comes in form of coordination, yeah, some kind of collaboration. So you can decide, let's say, 4 telecos cannot share data with each other just like that, but aggregated data on blockchain can actually be helpful to understand what the user behavior is, or what the patterns are, or how the industry is moving, anything like that. Any kind of collaboration, any kind of coordination problem that requires some kind of trust. Trust in blockchain makes it actually trustless, right? And that means that everyone can come together even though they are competing in some way, in some form. So I think whenever apps are using, there are basic use cases of blockchain. When you want users to control your data, when you want some kind of transparency, that is when you go ahead and use blockchain. And there is tremendous scope for doing that for every kind of app. As of now, we are still starting and we're still figuring out what the applications will look like. Most likely, there will not be copies of what Web2 products exist right now, but still a lot to be undiscovered.
Yes, 100%. And जब हम Web3 की बात करते हैं, Pareen, the whole technology, like you already said, I think the part where it gives the power to the individual to control their own data and everything. तो अब ऐसे में we see a lot of empowerment issues when it comes to the when it comes to different sector, be it corporate, be it industrial. So इसमें Web3 का जो एक empowerment invoke करने का जो role है as a country in India, what do you think? How much will it impact on individual level and on industrial level globally?
See, I think individual level pe India has been very fast in adopting any kind of technology. So, consumer level for adoption is not going to be that difficult for India because people are savvy. Now there is no language barrier and all, but so it's not that big a problem. When it comes to general society, I think we should look at how industries will be impacted by blockchain. So, right from as I mentioned, five telecos, right? They can collaborate with this. There is a ton of more collaboration opportunities that come into place because there is there is a trustless blockchain available for people to transact on. I think on society level, we will end up being a lot more transparent if we end up using blockchain, right up to the use case of maybe voting on blockchain someday, hopefully.
Yes. Even yeah, मतलब वोटिंग इज वन ऑफ द थिंग्स जिसमें वेब 3 का और ब्लॉकचेन का बहुत बड़ा रोल हो सकता है. इट जस्ट फॉर द गवर्नमेंट टू कितना टाइम लेते हैं वो इस पूरी चीज को इम्प्लीमेंट करने में. So I remember this very nice instance from the parliament, which I often talk about in the AMAs, and I am sure our audience is already bored of hearing this one incident. But I really love this part where this one MP Priyanka, she put up this whole thing forth saying कि जैसे इनिशियली कंप्यूटर को एम्प्लॉयमेंट कम करने के डर से आने नहीं दिया जा रहा था, वैसे अब आप क्रिप्टो को चांस नहीं दे रहे हैं, आप वेब 3 को चांस नहीं दे रहे हैं, बट instead it could be a boon to the country. And I feel the same because India needs a lot of I would say magic. Kyunki if we look at the whole taxation thing, if we look at the reservation part, we are still a lot orthodox when it comes to the social you know I don't know the term exactly when we talk about these divides, and we don't know how to correctly put them in categories, and we have been using these orthodox methods. So क्योंकि web 3 एक ऐसी चीज है जहाँ पे एक इक्वल लेवल पे हर कोई इंटरैक्ट कर पाएगा, चाहे मॉनिटरीली हो, चाहे स्किल वाइज हो. So what do you think, if hypothetically you have to imagine a future where it's just web 3 and everything's working on it, how will it be changing the current orthodox scenario of our country?
See, I think it's good. I don't think orthodox is probably right word, but conservative is what we have been, right? So mostly Indian government, the financial regulators, everyone has been pretty conservative in their approach. We have a stock exchange that has circuits and different consumer protection mechanisms, right? I think that actually protects India in a lot of way. It protects India from unnecessary speculation in that sense. Also, it protects India from a lot of uh, absolutely volatile stuff that keeps going on in most other markets abroad. I think Indian government already understands what's going on. It's not like they are some primitive people. I think they get it very very well. They're trying to figure out what is the best way to take this forward. And it's always going to be some kind of back and forth. It's never going to be that you arrive at perfect regulation in day one. It's just not going to happen. So when we say even maybe 20 till 2020, 2021, it's not like government doesn't understand this technology. It is actually that government understands it so well that it is trying to figure out a better way of implementing this because we saw what happened with FTX, we saw what happened with Terra Luna, and it's okay to be a little conservative at start, and then once you have your proper ground set, you go ahead and capture the industry. So I am still way bullish on India, even though right now it may seem like our regulation is not that great. It may just help for investor protection till the time that everyone figures out what the right way is. Right now, no country in the world knows what the right way is. Uh, everyone's experimenting. Till that time, maybe some protection is not that bad. We do definitely need a lot more emphasis on the tech side of things so that that can go ahead and be undeterred by any kind of trading regulation that comes out there.
Yes. So, yeah, maybe I will agree to that point, but it's not about my opinion mostly. So, yeah, of course, I mean, the countries have to be a little protective about their investors as well. But at the same time, there are a lot of other aspects that they have to look at. So, globally, if we talk about it, Pareen, we see El Salvador, we see Central African Republic implementing a lot different set of rules. But mostly, it's better not to give an opinion at the start, I would say. So
Right.
maybe I'm just hoping, we are just all hoping for the best changes to happen in the future, because yeah, India is a very potential market for this industry given the developing stage it is in. It is. And so if we talk about this whole system, the belief in its core, हमने देखा है कि कैसे हाल में अमेरिका में banking collapse has been happening one after the other. The banks have been collapsing, and this is also kind of creating more trust in the whole decentralized system. But can we say the same thing about India? Like, can we see a certain situation happening in India, or our systems are well secured or something to just deal with them?
See, I think American bank collapse is also. I'm not sure if it is their financial decisions that have caused them to do this, or is it some kind of macro uh, time that okay, we move on to a new change kind of thing. We are not sure about a lot of things as of now. What we know for a fact is that unlimited money printing is not going to work at any point in time. That is extremely clear in everyone's mind that, okay, you cannot just keep doing this. Now, how do you figure out what's the new system? Uh, I think there are quite a few candidates for that. Bitcoin is definitely one of the candidates to become global reserve currency. Uh, but still, from an Indian perspective, it's easier not to speculate on any of this and say, okay, let them figure it out. No problem. We are very happy using a rupee right now, and it's working pretty well on UPI as Rails. We don't have that problem where we are paying Visa, MasterCard, someone a lot of money to process our payment. I think that's a very good position for India to be in right now, as Balaji calls it, third front. Right? We are there very quietly doing our own thing. Slowly, when the technology picks up, we will already know how to build products, we will know how to use those products, and we will have a bunch of young minds already sitting ready ahead of the curve instead of behind the curve like we were for the internet.
But again, inflation is a problem that even India cannot, say like, okay, rupees is going to solve that. Of course, we also have a more number of rupee printing, like you said about, unlimited printing of currency. That similar problem is there in India as well. So, do you think that we have financial problems that could be solved by Bitcoin, or
Uh, I think, see, it's a leap of faith right now. I would hope that a lot of these problems would be solved by having, let's say, hard money. Right? That's what Bitcoin is, and that's what gold was. And as Indians, we've always believed in gold. So I think a lot of these problems will definitely be solved if there is hard money in the market. But the repercussions of going from such a crazy quantitative easing friendly currency to going to something like Bitcoin right now, the transition is what is way more worrying, right? And we don't know how this is going to happen because now there are countries, let's say for India, for example, recently there was a conference in Goa where India is discussing internal trade in Asia without dollars. Latin American countries are doing the same thing. Absolutely everyone is trying to figure out how they can locally trade without using the US dollar. This, I don't think there is any precedent, at least very, very well documented precedent like this as of now that I've seen. Uh, ever. So we are going into something that we've never experienced as human beings before. It is good to go a little cautious instead of go all out and say, yeah, let's do this. Let's just. El Salvador is a very, very small country, right? So in a small country, uh, mostly they are homogeneous. People understand the kind of leadership that they have. It just cannot exist in India. India is too big, too diverse, too way bigger than something like this, right? So we've got to make sure that we don't le- leave anyone behind. So let's say while demonetization happened, a lot of people said that, hey, this is uh, haphazard, right? Right now, there is no clear plan with anyone, not with US government. No one has very clear regulatory plan. So whatever we do right now, if it is an extreme step, it is going to be haphazard. El Salvador can deal with a lot of pressures because it's still a country that's much smaller. So education is easier. And in India, with so many languages, so much diversity, it's just very hard to create top-down change. We need to bring bottoms-up change. And I think what you're doing through education is actually enabling that bottoms-up change where people understand the risks themselves. They understand what the technology benefits are themselves and then make an informed choice out of this instead of government or anyone coming and saying, okay, tomorrow this is our legal tender or something like that. Also, I think we are more focused on growing our self-reliance, our economy to do anything that's so risky at this stage. But I think India also has a track record. We were very late to telecom. We were very late to internet also. We were very late to payments. We were very late to e-commerce. Right now, we are leading on all of them. Maybe I think I'm not sure about space tech, but I'm sure India is right now one of the top players in space tech as well. But we start late. That's been the pattern. I don't know why it is, but somehow initially we start late. But once we get onto some technology, we are going to become the number one. So I think it's a judgment call that all of us would have taken slightly differently.
I think, yeah, maybe perhaps like since you talked about the pattern, even I cannot say, okay, something otherwise. We have had the pattern, and perhaps this pattern is the thing that is going to work out for us in the future. So, Pareen, one last question. If we talk about the rural development, that has been a crucial point in India when we talk about it, the education, everything. So, how do you think Web3 is going to, make it better, or what are the opportunities for Web3 in those area to make it better?
I don't think a lot of thought has gone into this right now. Uh, I can see micropayments going through blockchain much easily. I can see micro loans going through blockchain much easily. There are people, actually, couple of founders working on collateralization of uh, grain. There are people working on on-chain collateralization of warehouse inventory. All those use cases will emerge where real life assets have an on-chain entry, and that makes them uh, much more liquid, much easier to transfer. Now that's still far away. I think we are going to have to wait for a long time before something like this comes up, and people uh, in absolute physical life end up using an app that's powered by blockchain from the backend.
Yes, I think. And when it comes to the rural development, I think when it comes to the more, okay, am I audible, Pareen?
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like, okay, never mind. So when it comes to the rural development, there's more of a belief that the upcoming technologies are going to benefit them. But let's see what happens in the future. That is all to be, experienced
Hmm.
and seen. So, on this note, we'll be concluding our AMA for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining in and watching our AMA. Thank you so much, Pareen, for joining in and giving us so many important insights on today's topic, which was about Web3 and the future of the internet. Hopefully, our audience got to know and learn a lot of new things on
Uh,
Oh,
sorry, you were saying something.
yeah, I think you guys lost my voice. Anyways, thank you so much everyone for joining in. Thank you so much, Pareen. On this note, we'll end. Guys, stay tuned for more such AMAs upcoming. We'll see you.
Thank you for
Yes.
having me here.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you so much, Pareen, for being here.
Thanks.